Welcome everyone to the Pantheon. I'm Ray,
And I'm Evy.
and today this is the third Monday of the month, and this is where I normally do a solo review of a Razzie-nominated movie. And this movie is not Razzie-nominated, but it has all the makings of a Razzie film. Now, this is done by Asylum Pictures, a movie known for doing all the Sharknado movies, Snakes on the Train, Atlantic Rim, films that are not necessarily big budget, well-known movies, but films that smart enough to avoid a lawsuit. The films get shown on the Sci-Fi Network. This debuted on April 2021, just around the same time as King Kong versus Godzilla, which we and I, Evy and I, will be reviewing this coming Friday. So this is just our way of building up till we get to the Godzilla movie. It is meant to be a movie that is sort of like makes fun of it. It's sort of like the hubris of these monster movies, but realistically, it's meant to be a bad, cheap film. Like you have to say, like Sharknado, it's meant to be goofy, Though this is one of the more higher budget films. I'm not sure what the budget is for this movie, but for Asylum Pictures, money was put into this movie. So let's break it down a little bit as we go along. The opening sequence, it's like this. We see a lot of stock footage of NASA opening up, of the NASA program, with space program. But Evy, give us the overview of this movie.
Okay. It looks like it was done in the 60s. It's based on the NASA putting like a spacecraft like into space. Eventually it lasts for not too long, but they put it in space and put a monkey there or something. Yeah, and there's like 5 spacemen or women within the space cap. So there's like people who are in the army or something. So they land on a planet or Earth or whatever, and this thing pops out like a ape or something, and then then there's a war with the spacemen, and yeah, there it goes. Anyway, that's all I'll say right now. It was okay, but anyway, that's all I have to say.
Okay, well, I kind of agree with you in the sense that this cannot possibly exist in a world of our reality. It has to be like kind of like a what if scenario where it's like in this form of reality this happened, because when I watched this film, just in terms of a logistical sense, it was very taxing on my brain, because they would give you certain facts that didn't add up. For instance, they say back when Bush and Putin were in power, they launched a space probe into outer space, and that was 30 years ago. They also mentioned that in 2007 they lost track of the space probe. 30 years ago, if you were saying this takes place in 2021 or 2020, that would be the year 2000, right, or before 2000, right? So at the time of the reference, 30 years ago, at the time of the reference, if it's 2020 now or 2021, Putin wasn't in power at the time, and Bush wasn't in power. So it wouldn't make sense in terms of when this took place. This takes place during the time of Boris Yeltsin and President Clinton, right? So that was when that took place. And also the lead character played by Adrian Scott, the scientist, she was a child when this ape went to space. So her connection to the ape would not even be like there was no way to like for them, unless the monkey and her were friends, like their father brought the monkey home and they're like kind of like she knew the monkey from the childhood. There was no connection to the childhood to the monkey, and her whole motivation of like being mad at her father for lying to her about animal cruelty. It makes no sense if you're a scientist who understands the nature of the business. Like animal testing was an actual way of like how you do things, how to progress for science. Even with all the special precautions like to rabbits or to mice or monkeys. So the motivations for her to be upset with her father as an adult made no sense. Also, she didn't look like she'd be like, she looked like she'd be like in her pre-teens 30 years ago. She seemed like really young, you know. How old do you think she is in this movie, just by looking at her?
How what? How old?
Yeah.
I don't know. 20, 18. I don't know. What do you think?
I'd say like she maybe like late 20s, early 30s. So the fact that it was 30 years ago, she'd be like 3 or 4 years old. So
I
some of the
guess.
some,
Okay.
some of the concepts it seemed kind of like it seemed kind of odd for me. You know, so just and yeah, so this, the whole thing with the time frame makes no sense in terms of logistical, which is why I agree with you.
Okay.
Like it has to exist in a world that doesn't pertain to our history or our logic. Because if you take what they're saying on face value, it does strain my brain a little bit to try and like what are you talking? It doesn't add up. But what the positive is, I think every actor in this movie really puts like actually is there. They actually, you know, the writing is really really bad and the concept is bad. But like Eric Roberts, Mrs. Scott, like all the actors who are in this film, they actually are present. They're not phoning it in. They actually give a performance. The performance is crazy bonkers. Um,
Mm.
Example, case in point, you have as you mentioned, there's like a 5-team military strike force that goes to investigate the crash. Right? They go to the crash. You would normally think, okay, it came from outer space. There might be some radiation, so they would have a hazmat suit going into it. No, they just walk into it normally without a spacesuit. You know, one guy is carrying a bazooka on his shoulder. The other 4 people are carrying a machine gun. Like, how many people do you know carry a bazooka walking into it? You can only fire once, and he's just pointing in all directions, which is really like dangerous in itself. So the concept of it being very campy and hokey is a clear and present danger in this movie. It's really bonkers. I Special effects in terms of like the monsters. What do you think of the monsters in this when you get to look at them?
Do I?
Yeah.
What do I? Monsters are okay.
Mhm.
I really like the ape at the beginning,
Mhm.
though, kind of doing its ape thing.
Mhm.
It was all right, very lame. And it is campy,
Mhm.
so I don't really blame it for being bad or whatever.
Yeah.
It's a movie.
Mhm.
What are you gonna do? It's good for a laugh, and that's what I think about
Yeah.
that movie.
Yeah, they borrow some themes. Like if you look at the movie Rampage, it's the theme with the antenna and
Mm.
drawing them in. Some of the locations are kind of interesting, like Chavez, Mexico, Beaverton, Virginia, Huntingwood, Virginia. Like certain themes, certain like I thought they were gonna make something crude about Beaverton, but they didn't go that way, so it was kind of nice. But the lizard reminded me of like the Godzilla, the Matthew Broderick Godzilla when he stood up. It reminds me of the old school like Japanese Godzilla films, but like sort of like stop motion. Although that's their bread and butter to make that kind of like stilted animation of these monsters they fight it out, whether it's like Atlantic Rim or whatever. So that was kind of like that movie is the style of graphic special effects was kind of interesting. It's low end and it's fine. It does the job what it's supposed to do. You have like green screen or superimposing of the creatures. Um, did the actors like I'm specific about talking about the main actors is they really give it them all. But did you find them like irritating at any point? Like
Some of it I found a bit silly
Mhm.
because it is a silly movie. So I really didn't take it like to heart, but still, it was a good movie for a laugh and everything. And I'm kind of glad I saw it actually.
Oh, cool.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah. No, this I find, as I mentioned at the top, they really go hard at the acting. They try to play it as straight as possible. Sometimes it's a little irritating, but then
Mhm.
when I think about what they're arguing about, it's nonsense, but it is sort of okay for this theme of this movie. This is why I think it's so worthy of a Razzie, because it's like the bigger the hole you dig for yourself, the more crazy this plot is. Um, but they don't wink at the camera; they play it for all its might as being a very serious tone.
Okay.
I like Eric Roberts. I kind of miss him. He's kind of a cool actor.
Mm.
He's kind of fallen off the radar quite a bit. So it's kind of nice to see him make a comeback, if you will, in this film. Uh,
Mm.
Especially in 2021, and in the wake of COVID,
Yeah.
they were able to pull this off. And they were able to pull this off, I think, just weeks before the release of before Godzilla and King Kong. So this really does come out of Asylum has been able to always release films big budget tentpole films in the same time as the release of their movies. So it's really cool. So that was
Cool.
Overall, you watched Sharknado. You watched like some of these movies, Asylum movies. What do you think of their projects, their kind of movies, that what they make?
They're good for a laugh, you know. I just think, you know, they're cute. I don't take them seriously or whatever. Yeah, they're a laugh.
Yeah, it's cool. I do hope this movie gets made, gets nominated for a Razzie, but it's not. So, which is why we have it today.
You know, nothing to really take seriously, but well made.
Okay.
You know, based on what it's worth. Yeah, I thought it was funny.
And with that, I am Ray.
And I'm Evy.
We'll talk to you on Friday when we review King Kong versus Godzilla. Take care. Irritating at any point.